Welcome! In this video, I'm going to show you some finer points of the connect the dots simple wood grain technique I showed you in the last video. This time, I'll cover how to apply that technique to a series of boards, like wood panels or floorboards. Also, I'll show you how to use wavy lines to make things look a little more realistic. Okay, first I'll put in a simple one knot board, basically doing what I did in the first video. 5 dots next to the knot, and 5 dots that get further and further out in the direction of the wood grain. Now connect the closer dots with my fingers and wrist, and the farther ones with my whole arm. Each time bringing the rings closer to the knot as I pass. And then just continue the pattern to fill in the extra space. Now I'll mix it up by putting 2 knots in opposite corners. Make sure the knots are spaced far enough away so the rings won't overlap. Or if they are kind of close, you can just use less rings or maybe compress the rings to make them work. Either way, fill in any area that's left over by continuing the pattern, but be sure not to let the lines intersect or overlap. Now you can also put 2 knots in line with each other. To do so, use fewer rings, in this case 3 per knot. And keep the last dot for each knot on its own side. If it helps, imagine a little wall between the 2 knots, like this. As you connect the dots, work each side a little at a time, going back and forth from knot to knot, and shoot for a kind of a loose symmetry. And finally, you can sometimes have knots that aren't even on the board, but they still influence the grain, so lightly or in the air, draw the knot off the board to help you get the lines right in the board. You can continue the pattern, or you can add another knot. Here's where it can be pretty fun just to mix it up and see what happens. Just make sure that you don't let the lines intersect or overlap. Of course, the technique I've been using is a bit of a simplified version of actual wood grain. But to get a little closer to the real thing, you can make your lines just a little more wavy and natural. Now it helps to practice off to the side and draw a simple wavy line, whose waves go back and forth in the direction of the grain. Then simultaneously move your whole arm in the same direction as the grain, and as the same direction as the waves. And then do this wavy biz while you connect the dots. Remember, it's okay if you're off a little. To see the difference these wavy lines make, I'll redraw the same grain as before, but with wavier lines. I think it was fine before, but now it's just a little more natural. What do you think? Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for tips on shading wood grain. And please check out my book, Drawing Made Easy, for additional drawing tips and all kinds of other fun stuff and useful stuff. Thanks a lot.